Okay, here's lesson 1.2 for algebra, order of operations. I think you know these already. I think you've heard them before. I think you've had elementary and middle school teachers tell you about PEMDAS. You'll hear this from me often. They lied to you. No, that's not actually true. They didn't lie. They just didn't tell you the whole truth. And you'll hear me say that in algebra often. They only give you as much information as you need at the time. So there's probably more information or more details that you need to go on further in your high school math. So PEMDAS works, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, but it doesn't work in that order. Not all the time. The way that you should write PEMDAS is P for parentheses, E for exponents, and then this is the not whole truth. Multiply and divide. You can't write multiply before divide, because if divide comes first in the expression, then you need to do the division first. That should happen left to right. Those two letters should be interchangeable. Same as addition and subtraction. It's not add, then subtract. Depending on which one comes first, left to right, depends on which one you do first. So PEMDAS is a nice reminder, but it's not necessarily perfectly true. And then eventually we'll throw in another A, B up here, or V for absolute value. We might throw in some other numbers or letters that represent down the line. But for right now, they were close. But please, let's keep this in mind. An example. Reminder again to pause the video as you need to make time to write down the examples. Here would be an example where you need order of operations. 30 minus 2 squared divided by 2 times 5. And I apologize again if that's in the glare. Maybe that's worse. I don't know. 30 minus 2 squared divided by 2 times 5. Order of operations says do parentheses first. There aren't any. So then we're going to do exponents. Then it says, well, let's do it. Exponents first. 2 squared is 4. 30 minus 4 divided by 2 times 5. Then do division first, because it comes first left to right before multiplication. So we have 30 minus 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 5. Then you do multiplication. 2 times 5 is 10. Then you finally do the subtraction, which gets you down to 30 minus 10, which is a 20. In looking back at this, here's the original problem. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4-step problem. Wrong. It is not a 4-step problem. It is a 1-step problem. Order of operations is something you've already learned. It's something that you've already mastered. You've done it so much in your math career that I will not ask you to do order of operations step by step by step. When your math teacher always says, show your work, okay, yes, there's times I want you to show your work, but not here, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different chances to make a mistake. How do you do this in one step? Get a calculator, please. Your scientific calculators are programmed to do order of operations. So when you have one big long problem, you don't have to worry about parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide. Not until we start throwing some letters and variables in your problems, again in Algebra 2, will you need to worry about those order of operations. I want you to use your calculator. I want you to get good at your calculator. I want you to know where all the buttons are on your calculator. So when you see this problem, and you grab your calculator, I'm getting mine right now. Mine is pink. Okay, when you grab your calculator, you should be able to take this calculator right here and type in 30. Try it with me on your calculator. Minus 2 squared. Remember I showed you the squared button on your calculator in the first lesson. It's right next to the 7 for a lot of you, not all of you. Divided by, which will put a slash for you, 2 times 5. Hit equals. 1-step problem. It says 20. And the only mistake that a calculator makes is if you mistype a button. It doesn't make mental mistakes. It's not when it's too tired or it's too late or because it's not going to make a mistake unless you punch in the wrong number. So I want you to try these. Go ahead and write the problem down first, so you'll have to pause it. But 3 to the 3rd power divided by 9 plus 4 times 3. Remember that's a times sign, little asterisk there. Find your power button again. I showed you that in the previous lesson. A lot of you have little carrots like this. Some of you have a Y to the X button. But you're going going to type it in straight across, right through the screen. 3 power 3 divided by 9 plus 4 times 3 equals 15. Magic. If you're using your phone, check and see that your phone does order of operations. Do you have to turn your phone sideways to make it do order of operations? Make sure you're using the correct calculator. Another one, 12 plus parentheses 5 minus 3 squared. Okay, as you do this one, you've got to find, there are parentheses on your calculator. Parentheses on your calculator, you use a left one and you use a right one. Find it, try it. 12 plus left parenthesis 5 minus 3. Please use the subtraction sign, not the negative sign. And when you hit squared, you should get 16. Let me point this out again. The subtraction sign, not the negative sign. We don't need that just yet. Moving on. This one, a little bit more complicated, but that's why we're practicing on a calculator so that you don't have to do this as a 1, 2, 3, 4 step problem again. It's a one-step problem. What do you do when there's brackets? There's no brackets on your calculator. Well, you need to count it as a left parenthesis and another left parenthesis. When you're done, you'll have 2 right parentheses before you hit the equal sign. Each left needs to have a matching right. Learn your calculator. How does it work? Some calculators let you type in 2 and then parenthesis. Other calculators, depending on your model, it won't allow that. You have to put the time sign in before your parenthesis. Find out right now, does your calculator need a multiplication sign in front of a parenthesis or doesn't it? Type it in. 2 parentheses 54 divided by parentheses 4. Hit your square button. Plus 2. Right parentheses equals. If you typed it in properly and learned how your calculator works, you should get 6. Did that work? Do you need a time sign? Do you not need a time sign? Try it. Moving on. Go back and pause it if you have to. We are going to now combine the 2 lessons that we've learned. We learned 1.1, 1.2. In 1.1 we are evaluating expressions. In 1.2 we are evaluating expressions with order of operations. So now instead of giving you a problem with all numbers in it, you have a problem with variables in it. You're going to do the order of operations while plugging in the expression for evaluating. There are not parentheses in this problem, but there are hidden parentheses in this problem. Because if you type in, don't write this down, if you type in 5 times 3 divided by 3 times 2, or that's a plus sign it looks like, 3 plus 2, exactly as you read this, 5 times 3 divided by 3 plus 2, your calculator is going to do order of operations. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. That's what your calculator is going to think. But in reality, this is a parenthesis. It is a separator. What's on the top? Numerator. What's on the bottom? Denominator. You need to type that in. I still want this to be a one-step problem. Left parenthesis, 5 times 3, right parenthesis, divided by left parentheses, 3 plus 2, right parenthesis. And you may think, well, that takes more time than me just doing it in my head. 5 times 3 is 15, 3 plus 2 is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Yeah, it might take a little bit more time to type this in your calculator, but it also saves you from making any kind of mental mistakes. I want to grade you on how well you do algebra and how you're doing with the process and evaluating expressions. I don't want to grade you on 5 times 3 is 15 and when you accidentally put 5 times 3 is 25. Okay? So the more you use your calculator, the less mistakes you will make. Type that in as is, hit your equal sign, and you will get 3, which is the proper answer, not 7. Go ahead and try this one. Again, I threw a fraction in there to make sure you were supposed to practice using fractions on your calculator in the last lesson. Take a look on here, find your fraction button. It could be an ABC, it could be one of these. Okay, look and find where your fraction button is. I want you to use it. I do not want you to do this in pieces. When I type in a fraction on my calculator, it looks like this. 3, it gives this little L shape, 3 fraction 8. Times, some of you need a time sign, some of you don't. Some of you could just use the parentheses. 4 squared plus 4. Hit your equal sign when you're done. 3/8 times 4 squared plus 4 equals, mine says 7U1/2. Don't write that as your answer, please. Let's speak the language, write the language, talk the language. That says 7.5. 7.5 is an okay answer. My favorite answer is 15/2. 15/2. You want it to say 15/2? Hit second up here in the corner. Actually, let me get close to the, see my 7.5 without a glare? If I hit second and my fraction button again, watch when I hit equals. 15/2. Find your calculator how that works. Again, I don't want to take time to do fractions in class. I want to just move on to the next problem. You can go 7.5 or second fraction equals 15/2. If you need help with your calculator, Google it or bring it to me and I'll show you if you have a different button for fractions. 15/2, impropers are my favorite. Let's try this one. Go ahead and do it on your own. Write it down. See if you do it right. Do you have the parentheses in the correct spot? Did you do the squared properly? Do you have a fraction as an answer? Go ahead and take the time, type it in. I will too. Okay, pause it if you're not ready yet, but when you're done, you should just get the whole number 4. And again, one full typing across all the way through. I do not want you to do it in parts. Can you see that? It's like reflecting off of my back wall. There, try that. 6 squared minus 8 in parentheses divided by 2 times 6 minus 5 equals 4. All the way across. All right, let's finish this up. Last few problems. Evaluate the expression when W equals 9. 17 plus 3W is your first one. W squared minus 13 is your second one. You can write these down and go back and evaluate them. 5W over W plus 6 is your third one. And then let's throw in a parentheses and a fraction. 7 parentheses 13 minus W and 5W minus 1/3 W. Get them all written down. Go ahead and pause it, solve it, and then check and see if you got the right answers. Remember that W equals 9. Okay, if you've paused it, come on back. You should get 44 for this one. $68 for this one. 3 for this one. 28 for this one. And on this one, I would prefer that you use your fraction button again. 5 times 9 minus 1/3 times 9. You should get 42.